I watched Past Lives.
Past Lives. I want to watch Past Lives.
So it is nominated, I think, for Best Picture this year. I watched it at home on Hulu.
Okay.
So it's streaming on that platform. It did have a limited release, or it was in movie theaters, and I think it did the festival round as well. So it's really the story of two children that met in Korea, South Korea, and it seemed like about junior high, a boy and a girl, and the girl's family decides to emigrate to the United States.
Sorry, I just have to interrupt really quick. You are intentionally watching things with teenagers of them now? What is wrong with you?
I did not know. I was like, oh no, when it started. I'm like,
well, because I think from the promotion, the primary story, they're in their 30s, right?
And there's a lot of, they speak Korean, so there's a lot of, subtitles you're going to have to read.
Well, as long as it's on a platform like Hulu where I can pause it, or I can have John come over and just read it to me the whole time.
Okay.
As long as it's not a dub.
Yeah. John
I don't know if dub was an offer.
Just as a dyslexic person or a person with dyslexia, it is a factor whether or not there's a lot of subtitle requirement to watch something.
I don't know if a dub was even offered, and I didn't take it.
I kind of don't think so. A lot of times when it's a blend of English and another language, they don't typically do a dub. It's only if it's,
It might be like intentional, like where they're trying to clue you in. These people are being cut out of the conversation because they don't speak the language.
It's a purposeful thing. So where if you dub something, you're going to replace all of it with English, so that really wouldn't work.
Right.
Like, that's part of the story, that there's multiple languages going on.
Yes, because you're also seeing, so like I said, childhood, they're not really sweethearts because they're young. So it's not as if there had even been, I even think, like a kiss. I mean, it was very...
just childhood friends, really.
Yeah, a deep connection as children. And her family goes for what was considered like the better opportunities in America. And they assimilate. I mean, she changes her Korean name to Nora, ends up being a playwright in New York, and is living very much like sort of a young woman in New York making her way. And thanks to social media, Facebook at the time, she is able to see that he left a message on her father's post, because her father is a filmmaker. And
when is this set?
It felt contemporary, but it felt like early 2000s.
It's sort of a, two time periods, or at least there's a skip. 2012, they're like middle adults, and then they skip again 12 more years later.
Because, it goes from their childhood to 2012 to when she finds him on Facebook, and they basically what we consider now like FaceTime each other.
Oh, sort of reconnect.
Yeah. This is an intimate, very quiet paced film. And the filmmaker Celine Song, who wrote and directed it, had to be purposeful. It's very, it's really the story of these two people. And, how when you are in those fundamental years, meet somebody, does it ever go away? And do you always have that connection? And what does that mean? Because he stays in Korea and is on his way to become an engineer. And they get very involved over that first reconnect period online, but it becomes apparent they're both so into their worlds, like unless one is willing to travel to the other, where is this going to go?
Yeah.
So
there's too much physical distance.
So she's the one that sort of puts I need to take a little bit of a break, because they were really building up a dependency on each other. The way that she filmed, very quick cuts of them constantly checking in with each other throughout the day, the week, the month, and you could tell time had passed. So Nora's character in New York is so focused sort of on her career, goes, I'm just going to take a little break. So Nora decides that she's going to go to a basically writer's workshop in upstate New York. And like I said, I mean, the pace of it, the intimacy of it, it's very profound in the sense of like the acting is just a character study of these people, like how she enters a room, how she looks at something, no dialogue. So she arrives at this writer's retreat, and you just can tell this is going to be a life-changing event. And so she meets another writer on the retreat, and that's what sort of takes her life in another direction for quite a few years. And that's where that other leap, and in that time period, she gets married to this other novelist. They move in together in New York, and they're having this artist lifestyle. And then she finds out her childhood friend is going to come to visit in New York, played by Korean actor Teo Yoo. And even though like he's an engineer now, he has this group of friends, seemed like he had a girlfriend but broke up. It's like this is an unfinished chapter. And really the only way you're going to be able to move on in your life, especially him, is to see each other. And so he comes to New York, and it's just, also the cinematographer did a really excellent job of showing both cultures, Korea versus New York. It was very kind of fascinating, the difference. And when they see each other, once again, you better be wide awake, because you can't kind of tune out. You got to be reading the subtitles, because she speaks mostly Korean to him. So really,
when they're together,
it's like, it's primarily subtitles. And the husband, he feels like, well, I'm not going to not let you see him, but are you like in love with him? Do you want to go with him? And so these are the fundamental questions of like, can you revisit your youth? And I mean, I married my childhood sweetheart, so I'm a weird, rare exception. But, it shows, so easily could you have gone through this door. It's a sliding door.
Oh, sure.
Theory. You go through this door and your life would have gone in a totally different direction. So, it just ends up like what choices were made, who we are, even though we have this fundamental sort of like deep connection to each other. Does that necessarily mean we meant to be together? So a very, very, like I said, quiet, intimate film, character study on two people's place in life of like that core of who you are as a child, and especially someplace like Korea, and now we come to the United States. So for the character of Nora, that's her sort of touchstone, that's her memory, and how that affects her as an adult. So, I mean, I recommend it. It has no special effects. I don't think there's any green screening.
There's no time travel.
Nope. They, do go back in time a few times, just a reflection. But really, it's about these two adults making a decision of like what this relationship will look like now.
Well, it was already on my radar. You said it's on Hulu, but
Yes.
it must also be on Showtime, because I think I recorded it. And it's on my
Showtime first.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on my DVR. I know that Showtime and Hulu have sort of a relationship, so sometimes that's, there's a crossover of, you see it on, because I, of course, just have regular cable, so I'll flip through and be like, oh, it's on Showtime, but sometimes it's also available on Hulu.
I mean, it was distributed by A24, which, really does excellent art house, whether it be horror or something along this line. They back these type of films. So
They do the smaller movie.
Yeah, she's very grateful to A24, and they obviously put marketing behind it, because I will say this is not one of those films that should have popped off and been an Oscar nominee. Like, I don't know how it got the momentum behind it. The acting is superb. But, that doesn't matter in today's marketplace. It's like, it has to be seen. It has to be known.
People need to know about it.
Yeah. So,
Interestingly, I feel like the market that you're referencing is saturated with anything but that. So it almost stands out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So Past Lives.
Yeah, Past Lives. So it's on my DVR, and as John has joked, it's taunting me because it's been on there for a while.
I did not say that. I said it's taunting us.
Oh.
Because I have not seen it and I want to see it.
Okay. You can read it to me then.
I'd be happy to.
Okay. That sounds great. I do want to talk about the cast before you move on, because I know that the main character is played by Greta Lee. She is amazing. I love her.
She has got a momentum behind her, quite the push right now. I think there's been a lot of award nominations. I saw an interview with her where she was so insecure about having to speak Korean because, it's almost her own story. I mean, she became an actor, an American, and so therefore to have to speak Korean most of the film was challenging to her. But I think there are so many just reflective moments. They had moments where they would just really look at each other and stare into each other's eyes. To be able to pull that off and to hold an audience's attention by doing something like that, and sometimes on a screen, tells you, I don't know how much pre-work they did as the actors to create that sort of connection, and I've used it multiple times, the intimacy, but she was excellent at it. And so much it reminded me of practically actors workshop character study, where it's okay, you're going to do a scene in your apartment, what's your busy work, da-da-da-da. Because so much of it was that, but it was so natural, and you believed her in her space, you believed what she was doing. So yeah, she, the accolades that she's getting, the opportunities I hope that come from it are well deserved.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's been bubbling around and doing
it's a small
stuff.
hall cast, cast.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hide anywhere. No one was going to come in and pull focus. You had to be able to pull it off.
No, I mean, and what you're describing really leans on her capacity to be real and be grounded and have a great performance.
There's no bells and whistles. So you have to be able to just really be genuine in the moment.
Wow. Well, I'm reinvigorated to watch it.
There you go.
There you go.